And salutations and welcome to this live part three of our Superman open spoiler discussion. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. And in case you're wondering, why are there three parts to this? Well, here's the thing. When we did the open spoiler discussion for Superman, that show went 3 hours, over 3 hours. But so many of you guys sent in questions, and I had turned them off. But so many of you guys had sent in questions. Well, we couldn't get through all of them in 3 hours, so we did a part two. And we did a part two that was an hour and a half long. 4.5 hours in. That still wasn't enough to get through all the questions you guys had sent in. So we got to do a part three tonight, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to do a part three. Now, we're going to be able to get it done in part three. Now, some people is already asking me in the live chat, because I decided to do this live. And got people asking me in live chat, why am I up so late? Well, I'm up this late because I just got back from the theater from seeing Superman again. It was our fourth time, the Quattro. Went to go see Superman for the fourth time tonight. Loved it. And the plan was just to come home, and you can tell it's late, like it's quarter after 11 p.m. my time, so you can tell I'm kind of disheveled, whatever. The plan was just to come home and record part four. But then I thought, you know what? Why not just do it live? Because I'm sure there's some people, some of our viewers, some of our regular viewers who live in different time zones and maybe can never jump in the live chat with all the rest of you guys and talk to everybody. So I figured, why not? Let's do it live. And so, by the way, went to go see it tonight, Wednesday night, middle of the week. I don't know what it was like everywhere else. Okay. I'm only speaking on behalf of the one single theater I was in. Our theater was packed on a Wednesday night. Our theater was packed for Superman. And, you know, we just talked on the show today about how it is the biggest Monday and Tuesday of any other film this year, including the second biggest Monday and the absolute number one biggest Tuesday of any films this year. And I have a feeling it might end up being the biggest Wednesday too. So, you know, it's chugging along. It's good for it. Again, loved it for fourth time out. Loved it. But you know what? Let's not waste any time. Let's get right to the reason that we're here, which is to take your live, well, not so much live, but the comments and questions that you guys sent in a couple of days ago when we did part one of our open spoiler discussion. So let's get through the remainder of them. Now I'm figuring this is going to take us about an hour or so, and then I'll go over and take some stuff from you guys in the live chat. So let's pick things up here. I think we left off with Clayton, so we'll pick up with Brian Garcia, who writes, also, I've never crushed harder on Lois Lane than in this movie. She was so well written and perfectly acted by Brosnahan. You know, I said this in the other parts before. You guys know how much I love Man of Steel. Man of Steel may still be my favorite Superman movie. But the one big knock I have on my beloved Man of Steel is that although Amy Adams is one of the world's finest actresses, she was a bit miscast for Lois Lane. It wasn't the right role for her. And I never bought the chemistry between her and Henry Cavill, her Lois and Henry Superman. I never really bought the chemistry between them in any of the DCEU films. And boy, did they nail it with Rachel Brosnahan. Not just with Rachel, who is perfectly cast as Lois, but the chemistry between her and David is just top notch. It's just fantastic. All right. Thanks for that, Brian. Next up, William writes, a kid posturing he is flying every time Soup shows up brought smiles to the cinema. I hope people see the positivity that this movie brings, bring on the filthy. You know, it's funny. This fourth time that we saw it tonight, we were sitting beside a guy and he brought his daughter. And we ended up sitting right beside him. And she was grinning and laughing and just having a ball. And it was so... I don't like using the word wholesome. It's overused, but it was so wholesome seeing this big burly dad with his little girl there watching Superman. And yeah, she was just having a blast. That was a really cool thing to see. And I would have loved to have been in a theater where a little kid was pretending he was flying every time Superman was on screen. All right. Next up, Prashi writes, Snyder was kryptonite of last DCU. If Warner leadership had replaced him after Man of Steel reception, got someone like Gunn, then DCU would have worked. That's armchair quarterbacking. Look, and you're talking to the wrong guy, because I personally really like the films that Snyder made. especially Man of Steel. I mean, look, I keep Henry in my office here. Like, I keep him watching Vigil over my office, and I have for years now. So you're talking to the wrong guy. That being said, as much as I love Man of Steel, and I really liked Batman versus Superman, and I really liked Justice League, both versions. I liked both versions. The reality is it never hit it. It never really hit the note with the wider general audience. And that's painful for me to say as someone who's such a big fan, particularly of Man of Steel. But yeah, it just didn't work. And it didn't work for a lot of people, I should say. Like, to this day, whenever I bring up how much I love Man of Steel, I got 20 people in the live chat or 20 people in my comments yelling, Man of Steel sucks. And that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion about it. But yeah, I don't think Snyder was the kryptonite of it. He made 3 movies I really liked. But at some point, I think the main problem with the DCEU was, and there are a bunch of little problems that drove it into the ground. I think the main problem, though, was they tried to let every filmmaker just make whatever film they wanted. And I get it. That sounds good. Let the artists decide what they want their movie to be. I get that. But that doesn't work in a shared cinematic universe. You need to have a Kevin Feige-like figure to kind of make sure they're conducting the whole orchestra, that all the movies are fitting in together and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do think the powers that be at DC should have recognized that, as much as Campea loved the movies Zack Snyder was making, that the tone was not going over well with the general movie-going audience, and maybe change directions. They would have been able to accomplish that a lot better had they actually dedicated and granted a studio head to run all of DC, which they never did. And I think ultimately that was its shortcoming. But then again, not the only one. There were the death of the DCEU was death by 1,000 cuts. I'm just saying, I think that was like one of the main culprits. All right. Next up, we got Adam Clapper, who writes, Hey, John, longtime fan. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that, man. Loved the movie. Me too. 10 out of 10. I don't know that I'd call it 10 out of 10, but I had an amazing time with it. David is Superman. Nailed the role. Rachel is perfect Lois. As a lifelong Superman fan, this movie was a dream come true. Felt like the 1996 series. I don't know what the 1996 series was. I'm not good with dates. Was that Smallville? Was it something else? Anyway. This is what I say about David Cornsweet. I don't believe David Cornsweet is the perfect Superman, but I think he was the perfect guy to play this version of Superman. I'm not going to say that I think Rachel Brosnahan is the perfect Lois Lane, but I think she was the perfect choice to play this Lois Lane. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I was just, one of my criticisms of Man of Steel, I was just saying, was Amy Adams as Lois Lane. But if they had done a different Lois Lane, maybe Amy Adams would have been the perfect choice for it. But she just wasn't the right actress for that particular role, that iteration of Lois Lane. But in this, David Cornsweet was perfect as this Superman. And yeah, Rachel Brosnahan was perfect as this Lois Lane. Anyway, glad you enjoyed the film, Adam, and thank you for being a viewer, dude. All right, next up. Dan Ramirez Mendez writes, Walking out, I heard somebody say, I usually don't watch DC movies, but this was great. I knew this got the job done. Beautiful, hopeful, we need more. Listen, Ann and I walked out, and when we were walking out of the AMC Tyler Galleria, we walked out of the main doors, and then we go around this curve to the upstairs parking lot. So as we're walking around the curve, we're walking behind this couple who is clearly on a date. I have to say they're in their early 20s. And she had a little blanket around her shoulder, I guess, because they keep the theaters cold here. I don't know if you know that about the movie theaters in LA. They keep the movie theaters really cold. I put on a jacket. I'm Canadian. I put on a jacket when I go to these movie theaters. Anyway, so she had this blanket around her thing, and I could see her kind of skipping a bit. And I didn't hear the first thing she said, but I could hear the boyfriend saying, I told you. And then as we kept walking, we could pick up the fact that she was in disbelief how much she loved this movie. and that she wasn't really normally into comic book movies, but she loved it. And I think there was a lot of those types of conversations coming out of Superman. I think there was a lot of those. Anyway, glad you liked it, man. Next up, let's see here. Where are we at? We're at Grady, who writes, oh, it sends in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Grady, for supporting us on that level, man. Grady writes, looking forward to seeing Pattinson with this Superman. Never going to happen. There's a reason why Reeves' Bat film is taking a long time to get made. They are considering merging these universes. Absolutely not. You are 1,000% wrong. There is no consideration of that going on. Don't want to water down the Batman 2 with them. Nope. 100% not true. James Gunn has already kind of addressed this. Besides the fact, if you know Matt Reeves, the Batman, if you've watched it, you know that Robert Pattinson Batman does not fit in this Superman universe. Robert Pattinson's Batman is great because it is a Batman that's in a very real, gritty, grounded world. A world without gods and monsters. A world without sorcery and witchcraft. A world without superpowers and flying aliens and damsels with golden lassos that make you tell the truth while flying in their invisible jets, and fishmen that fellowship with the fish under the sea. If you've actually watched the Matt Reeves Batman, that ain't that Batman. And it is 100% not true. We are not going to see Robert Pattinson's Batman. And now, let me be clear. James Gunn didn't call me and tell me that himself, but he's already pretty much said that. So yeah, don't believe for a second, because it would be a stupid idea. That Batman does not belong in this universe at all. At all. Leave that Batman alone. Robert Pattinson's Batman is great in his universe, thank you. Don't mess with that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That there being a Reeves verse with Penguin, with all the Emmy nominations, and with the Batman being the massive hit that it is, don't mess with that. Don't they dare touch that. Leave that be, because that Batman does not fit at all in this Superman universe. At all. Anyway, thanks for writing your thoughts in anyway, Grady. All right, Nathan writes, I'd like a scene where Superman robots confirm Jor-El's message instead of relying on the human experts. Well, I've thought about that, but here's the problem with it. There's nothing in this movie that says that these robots were sent from Krypton. Like Superman, or maybe an ally of Superman, made these robots for him. Those Superman robots certainly didn't come in the little capsule that brought baby Clark to Earth. So I'm not sure they can. I'm not sure that they can. By the way, Filmlogia is asking, how long until the Super Chats close? Oh, the Super Chats are closed 2 days ago. We are literally still just getting caught up on Super Chats that got sent in days ago when we did part 1. So there are no Super Chats tonight, Filmologia? Anyway, I'm sure I mispronounced that. Anyway. All right. Next up. Mr. GMT writes, in Australia, we did not have a proper Star Wars scroll. That is how it was every thanks for doing what you do. In Australia, we did not have a proper Star Wars scroll. Is that how it was every? Well, if what you're asking is, at the beginning of the movie, just when the text comes up on screen, 3 centuries ago, the first metahumans appeared. 3 decades ago, an alien baby landed on Earth. 3 years ago, that baby grew up and introduced himself to the world as Superman. 3 weeks ago, if you're talking about that, no, it wasn't scrolling. A lot of people refer to that kind of like a Star Wars scroll just because of the function that it serves. It wasn't literally a scroll on screen. So no, nowhere was it an actual scroll. It was just text up on screen. All right. I hope that clears that up, Mr. GMT. All right. Next up, Rachel Knight Online writes, so something to say is that I guess David is the version of Superman that Waller said Bloodsport put in the ICU with the kryptonite bullet. No, that's a different universe. And I think once you see the new Peacemaker trailer that they've been playing in some theaters, I believe, when we talked about this on the show the other day, that in Peacemaker season 2, Peacemaker leaves the DCEU universe and comes into the DCU universe. So no, there's a different Superman, at least as far as I can tell, Rachel. All right, next up. Wolf AJ writes, wish we saw more Hawkgirl, big fan, especially Isabella playing her, both terrific / guy, got moments, but not her. That's one of the negatives for me. You are dead wrong. She had one of the best moments in the movie. She got to be the one to kill the other president. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Mr. Terrific did have a bigger role in the film, for sure. Guy has some great moments. Absolutely. But to me, the single highlight moment that any of the three of them had was Hawkgirl's line, "I'm not like Superman," and straight up murders that guy. It wasn't self-defense. It wasn't spur of the moment. She went and flew to the presidential palace for one purpose: to go in there, take the president, and end his life. Make no mistake, it was an assassination. It was an assassination. I know we don't like to put that word with our superheroes, but it was a straight up murder, a straight up assassination. He was defenseless against her. She literally just grabbed him, hauled him out of a window, said, "I ain't like Superman," and threw him to his death. Threw him to his death. And it was awesome and one of my favorite moments of the movie, but it was a straight up assassination. So, I mean, yes, she didn't have as much screen time as, say, Mr. Terrific did, but I would argue out of the three of the Justice Gang characters, I think she had the best single moment. But that's just me. That's just me. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Chris Douglas, who writes, perhaps a strange comparison, but Superman had the same impact on me as Top Gun Maverick. Full of joy and optimism with epic action, but emotionally grounded and powerful, tackling legacy, plus a dope score. Listen, I'll tell you what, I like this movie more than Top Gun Maverick. It's not my favorite comic book film of all time. It's not even my favorite comic book film of the year. That's still Thunderbolts. Not even my favorite Superman movie as of right now. That's still Man of Steel. But I loved this. I'll go so far as to say I think I liked it even more than Top Gun Maverick. And you guys know I really like Top Gun Maverick. But I had more fun with this. At least they gave a name to the bad guys. Who is it? Maverick and his team are attacking? We don't know. Some country. We're not even going to name them. I mean, at least Superman made up a fake name for countries. That was at least something. All right. Next up. Adrenev writes, I thought it was good. You are dead on the money when you talked about feeling inspired. Funny enough, I haven't felt that since the ending of Amazing Spider-Man 2. I've been chasing that dragon since. So for those who don't know what Adrenev is talking about, you know, one of the things I said in part one is I have seen lots of movies that excited me and thrilled me. Some comic book movies I like even more than Superman. But one of the things Superman does that none of the rest of them did, none of them inspired me. And by inspired, I specifically means inspired me to want to be a better person. There are moments Steve Rogers does that for me in the MCU in bits and pieces here and there. But just watching Superman throughout this whole movie, it just inspires me to want to be a better person. And don't really have comic book movies do that for me. I had somebody write in a comment on that one, said, I love Deadpool, but Deadpool inspires me to want to be an asshole. And I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, so I am in complete agreement with you there, man. I saw it for a fourth time again tonight, and it still makes me feel that way, man. Still makes me feel that way, because as Comic Jack says in the live chat, kindness is the real punk rock. It absolutely is. All right. Bob S. writes, which character from this Superman movie, I'm assuming you mean, do you foresee appearing in the next DCU movies? Personally, the more terrific it is. Well, I already know the answer to that. Well, I don't know when it comes to movie, but I know which other character we're going to see first, and that's Guy Gardner. Because Guy Gardner is in the Lantern series, and I believe the Lantern series is coming out before Supergirl. I could be wrong about that, but I believe I recall that Lanterns is coming out before Supergirl. So if that's true, then the next person we're going to see, well, I take that back again, because Peacemaker is actually coming out even before Lanterns. And we already know from the trailer that Maxwell Lord, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl are at least momentarily going to appear in it. But in which movie? I have a feeling, I mean, I'm very sure we're going to see Superman. I'm very sure we're going to see Superman in Supergirl, but I don't know that we're going to see any of the other characters. So as far as which one we're going to see in a movie next, okay, I'll say Rick Flag in Clayface. Rick Flag in Clayface. I think I will. All right. Next up, Rachel Knight writes, my grandpa died a few weeks ago. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. The shot of Superman rising from the rubble after saying they're probably saving the woman from the building collapse would have had him smiling. I'll tell you what, I told this story already, but that moment, the first time I saw the movie, I was sitting right beside, I had Ann on one side of me and Rob was sitting on the other side of me. And that moment, as the woman gets away in the car and she looks in the rearview mirror, it's all the smoke, and then rising out of the dust is hovering there like a god, was Superman. And I literally, like, you can ask Rob, I literally leaned back in my chair and I did this. Cause I'm like, I want a poster of this shot. Like, that shot was breathtaking. And I think you're probably right, Rachel, about it making your grandfather smile, because it made a lot of us smile. I know it made me smile. Every time I've seen it, I saw it again tonight and I had a huge stupid grin on my face. All right. See, next up, David Simmons writes, love this movie, fun, and left me wanting more. And see, that's the thing, right? I think everybody walks out wanting more. And even though I always complain about the film feeling too short, the one thing you can say for it feeling like it's too short is that it desperately leaves you wanting more. And I remember the first time I watched the movie, I said to Anders who walked out, the one thing that pisses me off is knowing that we're probably going to have to wait years to see Superman 2. That's the part that made me mad walking out. It's like, we got to wait years to see Superman 2. So here's hoping James Gunn doesn't, let the studio daddle on that too awful much. All right. Next up, Sci-Fi Extremists says, if lore is correct, it adds interesting layers to Supergirl. Her survivor's guilt stem from just Krypton boom, or maybe her feelings on Krypton politics. I think there's a lot of really interesting ways they can go there. Because, okay, let's, for argument's sake, because we don't know if they're going to do this or not, but let's just for argument's sake say they're going to follow the basic lore of Supergirl, that she grew up on Krypton. And like Kal-El was clearly a baby, but she was already a teenager. And then she got in stasis in her journey to Earth. And so she's arrived on Earth at the same age as she was when she left Krypton, blah, 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 blah. Let's say they do follow that part of lore. They may not. They may do it totally different. They may say she was also a baby and got fired, for all we know. But let's just go with the assumption for a moment that they're going to follow the traditional lore on that. That opens up some really interesting storytelling possibilities. Survivor's guilt is definitely one of the things you could tell or talk about. The world's philosophy of Krypton. Krypton's way. Is that a way of domination? Or was it a way of spreading enlightenment? I still believe that the parents' message was doctored, but not doctored by Lex. I think Lex totally believed that's what the message said. I believe it was probably doctored either by Kryptonians, or maybe that Bradley Cooper isn't even actually Kal-El, but rather Zod. Again, these are all just theories, whatever, but it's going to be interesting to see which way they go with that. All right. Next up, Route 77 Productions just sent in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, Route 77. Todd Andrew writes, Jimmy Olsen's story is great. And Krypto at the end. Listen, both the post-credit scenes in Superman are basically kind of a waste. Let's be honest. Neither of them give you a laugh, and neither of them, by the way, I'm not one of these people that needs the post-credit scene to tease something that's coming up in the future. I don't believe that at all. It's fine if you do. I don't need you to do that. but at least make it funny or something, right? And I don't really think anybody needs to stick around for the post-credit scenes. That said, it is adorable in the mid-credit scene when you see Superman, sitting there with Krypto on the moon. That's cute. The thing is, we already saw that in one of the promotional images. So again, the post-credit, I love the movie, but the post-credit scenes were both kind of a waste. All right. Next up, Sienna the Destroyer writes, loved the conversation between the characters. Wish there was more. I love the conflicting ideologies. Surprised this movie tackled geopolitical topics. Very, very lightly, though. Like, it tackled them very lightly. I mean, they kind of dodged a lot just by making them both fictitious places. But still, I mean, I did love the one line Clark said. Like, I can't remember exactly how it's worded, even though I've seen the movie 4 times now. But the basic gist of it is, and I always mispronounce Jaranpur, whatever the name of that country is apparently kind of a backwards, maybe not so nice of a country. But Superman says something to Lois that's along the lines of, just because a country people are from may not be great doesn't mean those people's lives are worth any less, or doesn't give somebody else the right just to come in and kill those people. Again, I'm paraphrasing. I thought that was basically as geopolitical as they got. But yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. All right. Next up, we've got Route 77 Productions writes, Drunk Kara was something I never knew I needed. And again, if you know, it's a very side load. If you know the Woman of Tomorrow storyline, I am so looking forward to this Supergirl movie now. And by the way, did you guys see the promo we talked about on the John Campea Show earlier today? James Gunn put out the first official promo for Supergirl. And it's like a mix between a Shazam poster and a Guardians of the Galaxy poster. And I ate it up. I totally loved it. I think they're going to drop a teaser for Supergirl at Comic-Con in the coming weeks. I think they're going to do that. I don't know that for sure, but I think they will. All right. Trickster Nova writes, hey, John, do you think films like Jurassic Rebirth or Superman will lose their power by chasing broad appeal? Wouldn't embracing Jurassic's horror or Superman's awe lead to deeper, more resonating storytelling? No, you can have those kinds of movies. You can have movies that do that, but you should also have movies that do have broad general appeal. But it's not an either or. We do and should have both. We have movies. We have many movies like the ones you're talking about. But at the same time, movies like Jurassic or Superman pay for those movies to get made. That's always been one of the big discussions amongst, and Seth Rogen's show, The Studio, touched on it a couple of times in season 1 as well. It's that, yes, we love the artistic films, the more targeted kinds of films. Those are great. But guess what? They don't exist if it's not for the bigger, more broadly appealing kind of movies that make a lot more money that then allow a studio to pay for those types of movies. Those types of movies. And again, it's not a one or the other. To have a healthy, appealing, vibrant movie landscape, you should have all of that. You should have niche little indie films. You should have targeted, artistic, artist driven, certain demographic targeted films. You should have broader, wide appeal, blockbuster entertainment films. You should have all of them. And again, I would say the ones you're describing, we do have those. Those are out there. It's just that not as many people watch them as they watch these ones. And so you should and need to have all of them. Anyway, good question, man. Next up, we've got Mr. EI8 track writes, the aspect of his parents was in the John Byrne reboot after Crisis 1986. I don't recall that. About maybe his parents being, that Krypton and his parents were part of more of an empire building sort of thing. I don't recall that. I totally take your word for it. I'm just saying I don't really recall that. All right. Next up, Sean Park writes, what formats did you watch it in, IMAX or Dolby? The very first time I saw it in IMAX because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, but I believe the Amazon fan screenings were only done in IMAX, I think. Again, I could be wrong about that, but I think that's what they were. So the first time I saw it was absolutely in IMAX. Every time I've seen it since, oh, no, I take that back. My second time seeing it, all the Dolby AMC Prime theaters were sold out, so we saw it in a regular AMC laser theater, and that was great. And then the last two times we've seen it have been in my favorite theater, the AMC Dolby Prime. So I've seen it in 3 different formats so far, loved every single one, but my favorite movie-going experience is in the AMC Dolby Prime. All right. Thanks for the question, man. All right, next up. Where are we at? King Daddy writes, R.I.P. Malley, that part shook me. Listen, no part in Superman shocked me more than when he shot that guy in the head. And again, upon the first screening, sitting beside Rob, when that happened, I didn't mean to. I just audibly said out loud. I think everybody in the theater could hear me. I audibly said out loud, "Holy shit!" Like I didn't have that on my bingo card. I didn't have Iggy Pop doing a song in the movie, nor did I have some dude literally getting executed point blank shot in the head. I didn't get that. I didn't have that on my bingo card either. So yeah, man, that part absolutely shocked me. Completely did. You weren't alone, man. All right. Gregory McFly sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Gregory, for supporting our channel on that level, man. And Gregory writes, his parents sending him to conquer is not just Gunn's movie. They did that in Smallville. And I watched all of Smallville. Granted, it's been a really long time and I don't remember that. Anyway, and animated series, quote, on third planet from the star, Sol, last son of Krypton, would rule and Kryptonian civilization will be reborn. Well, there you go. So I guess there is precedent because you're the second person to write in that there is precedence for this. By the way, look, I've said this in both the first 2 parts. I'll say it again. While I believe ultimately we're going to find out that message was doctored, not by human scientists, because Kryptonian technology is way beyond human science, but either by Brainiac or by another Kryptonian, or specifically by Zod himself, or maybe Bradley Cooper isn't Jor-El, but actually Zod. I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, we are going to ultimately find out that message was doctored. But if they don't, and they actually do say that's why his parents sent him there, I'm okay with that. I really am. Listen, at the end of the day, Jor-El is not that important of a character. I'm sorry. I know that makes everybody get really uptight when I say it, but it is true. He's not that important of a character overall to the story of Superman because he's barely in it. And if we want our filmmakers to do something, we always cry. I'm one of them. We always cry. We want filmmakers to do something different. We want them to take risks. We want them to roll the dice, do something edgy, do something different. Okay. Then when they do, let's not cry about it. And I'm okay with it if they go with it that way. Again, though, I still ultimately think we're going to find out that the message was doctored. All right. Thanks for supporting us on that level again, George. I appreciate it, man. All right. Ronnie Dodge writes, I got this feeling we might see Lex in Peacemaker. I don't think you can get Nicholas Hoult in it. Now, though, if you're talking like the same way Peacemaker was in Superman, where it's like just a quick thing where he's on a screen in the background, that's possible. But I don't think you're going to see like an episode where, Lex is in it for like 10 minutes. I don't think you can get Nicholas Hoult for that. By the way, did you know, true story, Nicholas Hoult was the highest paid actor in the movie? He was. Nicholas Hoult was the highest paid actor in the movie. And this may surprise you. Do you want to know how much Nicholas Hoult got paid as the highest paid actor in the movie? It's a lot of money, but it might not be as much as you think. $2 million. $2 million. And he was the highest paid actor in the movie. He got paid more than Superman. He got paid more than Lois. Got paid more than everybody else. $2 million, and that was the top salary in the movie. Now, I'm sure they have it worked into their contracts that if the movie's a success and they do a sequel, I'm sure they're all in line for a nice little pay bump. But yeah, in Superman, the highest paid actor was the guy who played Lex, and he got paid $2 million. All right. That's why I don't think since he's the highest paid guy, I don't think you're going to see him pop up in Peacemaker. I could be wrong, but I'm just guessing we won't. All right. Rachel Light Online writes, Superman, dude, I think you're just a hater. Lex Luthor, you're goddamn right I am. Listen, there are so many reasons I like this Lex Luthor. One, because as a villain, he's rotten, man. He's rotten. He murdered Molly. This talks about he like imprisons and abuses his girlfriends. He murders. He's going to try to commit genocide so he can take over a country. He is rotten. That's one thing I love about a good villain. But he also actually believes in his cause. He really does believe that Superman is bad for the human race. And he's self-aware. Like when Superman says, "You're ruled by envy, Lex. It's obvious." He says, "Of course I know that. I know I'm driven by envy." Like, there's so many things about Lex that makes him such a compelling villain. So yeah, I loved him in this. All right. Next up. Let's see. Where are we? Sorry, I've lost my... There we are. Okay, next up. Again, I can't get it to move. Now we've got it. Okay. Sienna, the Destroyer, writes in again and writes, I love this movie, but Thunderbolts hit me harder. Superman almost made me cry. Thunderbolts had me sobbing. I love when movies move me emotionally. Oh, yeah, listen, when I see a movie, I need to marinate on it for a month or more to figure out where it ranks for me amongst other things. So it's too soon for me to talk about that with Superman. But as I've said a couple of times, if I was forced to give an answer right now, what is my favorite comic book movie of the year so far? I would say Thunderbolts. I mean, I madly love that movie. I love that movie. And I mean, maybe Superman in a few weeks will pass it, but right now I would say Thunderbolts. It's just, but here's the great thing. We get to love both. We don't have to pick one. We get to love both and we got to enjoy both. And here's hoping that next week, that Fantastic Four continues the streak. Here's hoping. All right. Next up. Cameron Nielsen writes, did anyone else want to see Mutant Toes' feet? I kind of did. I was kind of curious to see, why does he call her Mutant Toes? I'm not going to lie. I was morbidly curious about seeing what it was he was talking about. All right. Josh Howard writes, where is it? I love seeing Krypto raiding the dog treats. Oh, that was so precious. In the pet store. I love how they wrote the dog. As someone who owns a Doberman, having a powerful dog who has their own agenda really worked for me. Listen, there were so many, as a dog owner myself, my whole life, so many things about Krypto rang true. But can I bring up something that I have not brought up yet? I haven't seen anybody else bring up yet, although maybe somebody else has. I just haven't seen it. That Rob and I haven't talked about on the show. And tonight when I was watching the movie again, it struck me, why have we not talked about this? Let me tell you an observation I have, particularly about Krypto, that I don't think we brought up yet. I don't think there's ever been a better CGI character. From a technical CGI animation point of view. And here's what separates Krypto, I'm going to say, as the best CGI animated, rendered character in any movie ever in history. Again, I'm not saying the character is better than Gollum. I'm not saying the character is better than Thanos. I'm saying from a technical point of view, that fully CGI character, no other CGI character has ever been done as well. It is the single greatest CGI character ever done. And I will tell you why. Because It's a dog. John, what do you mean by that? Here's what I mean by that. You can make a Jar Jar Binks. Misa Jar Jar, right? You can do a Jar Jar Binks, and you can think, wow, that looks so real. That looks so good. And especially for the time it did, right? But what happens, there, we even have a term for it. What happens when you try to do a fully CGI person? Even still today, we have a phrase called uncanny valley, right? Where there's just, I mean, that looks good, but something feels off. And you know what the difference is between Misa Jar Jar and that? It's that our brain doesn't have a point of reference in real life for a Jar Jar Binks. Our brain does not have a point of reference for a real life Gollum. Our brain does not have a point of reference for a real life Thanos. But when we watch a person done in CGI, or a horse done in CGI, or whatever, that we do have points of reference for because we have them in our real life, something doesn't feel right. And we call that the uncanny valley. It feels off. Something feels wrong. It is far more difficult. I'm seeing people like mention Davy Jones. Yeah, but Davy Jones is a mythical creature, so there's no point of reference. It looked great, absolutely. But there's no point of reference in real life of a man with a squid face that our brains have to connect with. So it just accepts it, right? Our brains just accept it. Krypto's supposed to be a dog. And 85% of the movie, when that dog's on screen, I completely forget it's CGI. I completely forget it's CGI. I've never, and our brains have point of reference. It's a dog. We've seen dogs. We know what dogs look like. The fact that 85% of this movie you're watching and you totally forget that that's a CGI dog, that it's not a real dog, is crazy. And so I might even go talk about this on the John Campea Show tomorrow. I want to bring it up with Rob, but that's why I think from a technical achievement point of view, I think Krypto might be the single greatest technical achievement of a CGI character ever in the history of film so far. And if Krypto's any indication, things are about to get really scary. Things are about to get really scary because I think the uncanny valley might be disappearing pretty soon. Anyway. Thanks for that, Josh. Danger Room Comics writes, this movie was a 5.5 at best. It felt like I was watching an episode of a Superman TV show. To each their own. I mean, that's the thing. I keep telling people this. You got to remember, there are people out there who don't think The Godfather's good. I'm not saying Superman is Godfather, okay? I'm just saying there are people out there who don't think the original Star Wars movie is good. There are people out there who don't think Lawrence of Arabia is all that good. And they're not wrong. That's just how the movies hit them. Films are art. Art is subjective. Art hits us all in different ways. And, for you, man, if you watch the movie and to you it hit you in such a way that it didn't create much of an enjoyable experience, well, that sucks. I mean, that sucks that you didn't have a better time, but it's understandable. That's just how it hit you, and that's totally understandable. It hit me and most other people very differently, but that doesn't mean we're right and you're wrong. It just means you had a different experience with it than anybody else. Fair enough. All right. Next up, Trickster Nova writes, I was yearning for a moment that could lift me in awe and wonder, like the flight scene in Man of Steel. That one still brings me to tears. Thoughts? The first flight scene in Man of Steel is still emotionally moving to me. It's amazing. That said, there is a moment in Superman that comes really close to that. And it's in the beginning of the film, after he says, okay, got to get back into the fray. And he's flying from the fortress to go back to Metropolis. And the shots of him looked awesome. It was the best flying shots of the entire movie. Didn't quite match First Flight. First Flight was phenomenal. But yeah, that moment of it came close to it for me. All right. Next up, Tim writes, will the hype and momentum of Superman help Fantastic Four's box office? 100%. We've been saying that for months. The one movie that stands to benefit the most from a well-received Superman movie is Fantastic Four. We've been saying that long before Superman came out. Because the logic holds that if people go to this comic book movie and if they have a wonderful time at it, guess what? You've just increased the chances that they're going to come and watch Fantastic Four then by about 40%. If you go and have a blast at a comic book movie, you are more likely now to go back to see the next big comic book movie that, by the way, comes out in just 2 weeks from when you saw Superman. So, yeah, listen, I've told everybody, we've said this on the show, that there's no single person other than James Gunn cheering for the critical and audience success of Superman more than Kevin Feige. He's the biggest cheerleader that he wanted people to love this movie because if people hated Superman, the opposite is true. If people hated Superman, they had a bad time at a comic book movie, they would then become less likely to come back to see Fantastic Four 2 weeks later saying, I just watched a comic book movie and it was dumb. Right? So yes, Superman's success will absolutely help Fantastic Four. No doubt about it. All right. Next up. Randall Cartwright writes, was not expecting Lex to shoot that guy. Again, we just did a whole monologue about that, Randall. That was my holy shit moment of the movie. That was 100% my holy shit moment of the movie. All right. Josh Howard writes, my only major criticism of this movie is that the after credit snippets didn't need to be there. 100%. As I've already said, I completely agree. Either play them right at the end during the initial credits, or just use them in promo videos. I just don't think they needed to be there at all. I mean, they didn't give a big laugh. They didn't make you look at something that happened in the movie a little differently. And they didn't foreshadow anything for what might be coming later in the DCU. You don't have to do any one particular of those things, but you have to do at least one of those things in a post-credit scene to make it worth having there. And I just don't think either of the two post-credit scenes fulfilled any of those three things. And so I just kind of felt like they didn't need to be there at all. Anyway, next up, Auspicious writes, the movie made me very excited for this upcoming DCU. Me too. It feels like I'm watching the MCU build up / set up again, eager for what's next. Well, what's next is Peacemaker season 2. And until Penguin, I've never liked a comic book TV show more than that. I mean, right up close with it is like The Boys and stuff like that. But I mean, I've never liked a comic book TV show as much, or I was as entertained than I was with Peacemaker. And then came Penguin. So Penguin replaced it. But man, I'm excited for that. But listen, man, I'm so excited for Peacemaker season 2. I am so excited for this Lantern series. And now I'm really super excited for this Supergirl movie. So a lot to look forward to. All right. Next up, we have Murray Reich. And Murray Reich writes, the moment where Krypto attacks Lex reminded me instantly of Hulk attacking Loki. I said that many times in the first two parts. In First Avengers, me and my friends' mind went to puny God. Yep, 100%. 100%. I said that in the opening of part 1 of this open spoiler discussion a few days ago. I said, by the way, was it just me, or did anybody else have Loki Hulk flashbacks when Lex is standing there monologuing to Superman, and right in the middle of one of his sentences, bleh, Krypto's like, you motherfucker, like, it comes in and just beats the shit out of him. I loved that moment. I'm not going to lie. I totally loved that moment. I thought it was great. I'm glad you brought it up too, Murray. All right, next. Philly G writes, love the movie. Noticed the Gotham sign on my third viewing. You know what? I still haven't noticed it. Everybody keeps telling me about it. And I've watched the movie 4 times now and I still haven't noticed it. Noticed the Gotham sign on my third viewing. They mentioned that Superman holds his breath in space. What about Krypto on the moon? I mean, listen, if in part 1 of my open spoiler discussion of Superman, I went down a list of my 4 major peeves because I have several criticisms about the movie. And I went over my 4 major ones, and their inconsistent handling of how Superman needs oxygen. And I just think there was a better way that could have done it. But to answer your question specifically, well, what about Krypto sitting on the moon? Well, remember in the movie, they did say, as a Kryptonian, he can hold his breath for up to an hour. So I guess that would extend to Krypto as well, I guess. So yeah, I think that I'm going to guess that's probably it. I could be wrong, Philly G, but that's going to be my guess. All right. Alex Von Gollum writes, Lex passionately laying out why he hates Supes before Krypto beats him was greatly done by Hoult. It was tremendously done by Hoult. His face, tears when he realized that he was defeated. Yeah, it's just, I'm going to go out to say it is the best performance of Lex Luthor that we've had. Listen, I love Michael Rosenbaum as Lex in Smallville, but that was a very different kind of Lex. I'll go out on a limb and say I think Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor is the best performance we've had of Lex Luthor since the great Gene Hackman. It just what Hoult did with that intensity and all that kind of stuff, I just thought was absolutely amazing. All right. Thanks for that, Alex. Next up, Tito Nunez writes, do you think Superman will ultimately turn a profit by the end of its full theatrical run after factoring in its production and marketing costs? Curious to hear your take. Well, I mean, it needs to make somewhere around $600 million. The production budget of the movie was $220. I've seen some some complete losers online. But the movie was $325 million. No, it wasn't. It was $220 million was the production budget. But it also had a very expensive marketing budget. The way you figure out, the way you calculate roughly the break-even point for a movie, and again, it's more of an art than a science. Okay. So we're just talking roughly here. Okay. Let me see if I can bring this up. I'm not sure I can, but I'm going to try. Here we go. Okay. Let me see if I can do this here. I'm not sure I can. Well, that's not going to work. Let me see if I can get this. Here we go. Okay. So this is the Campea Classroom, but this is from the other day. So let me just do it like this. Why is that template stuff on there? I don't know. All right. So here's basically how you figure out, roughly speaking, okay? This gives you a ballpark of how you find the break-even point of a movie. You take production cost plus marketing equals X, okay? Then you do X. You know what? Let me change the letter from X to Y, okay? So production cost plus marketing equals Y, all right? Then you take the value of Y multiplied by 1.5, and that equals break-even point. So for argument's sake, if a movie cost $100 million to make, and then they spent $100 million marketing it, that gives you $200 million. So Y would be, in this example, Y would equal 200 million, right? In this example. So then, to get your break-even point, you have Y, or 200 million, and multiply that by 1.5, and that gives you 300 million. So this fictitious movie would need to make 300 million to break even. Now, if you're wondering where the 1.5 comes from, that's because theaters keep roughly, when it's all said and done, theaters keep roughly 1/3 of the box office. I know there are outlets and trades. Some will say, oh, it's actually, 40%. Oh, it's actually 20%. Oh, it's actually 50%. Listen, I worked with AMC theaters for years. I've been in their head offices. I've worked with their main executives, and they always broke it down for me that roughly it works out to be about 1/3. So in this case, if a movie made $300 million, what's 1/3? 100 million. So you would minus 100 million. Oops, not 1,200. 100 million. And you end up with exactly 200 million. So that, you see how the math works, right? So again, the basic gist of it is production cost plus marketing equals Y. Then you take Y, multiply it by 1.5, and that's your break even point. So the production budget of Superman is $220 million. From what I hear, the marketing budget was very expensive. Very expensive. I've heard it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 million. I could be wrong about that, but that is the number that I've been given. It's about 200 million. Okay. So if we take those numbers, let's say in the case of Superman, let's just round it for argument's sake. So let's say production cost is about 200, marketing's about 200. Okay. So now you're talking about 400 million, right? So 400 million times 1.5 equals what? It equals 600 million. So I think roughly speaking, Superman needs to make about 600 million. Anybody who tells you it needs to make more than that is simply stupid or deliberately trying to put out bad information. Superman roughly needs to make around 600 million. Maybe it needs to make 585 million. Maybe it needs to make 610, but it roughly needs to make about $600 million. Now, as of today, which will mark the end of the first week of it being out in theaters, right? So today's Wednesday, right? Yeah. Today marks the official 1 week that it's been out in theaters. The worldwide total right now on it is about 350 million. So it's already more than halfway there. It's already more than halfway there. So yeah, I believe it can break even. I do believe it can be profitable. Again, as I've explained for the last 2 years, as I've explained it, it doesn't really need to be profitable because Warner Brothers is looking at this new DCU, not in terms of one movie. They're not looking at it small picture. They're looking at it big picture. Will this movie help all these other movies make more money? And the answer to that is yes. So, but yeah, it can still be profitable on its own. Can still be profitable on its own. All right. Let's see here. Next up, we have, where are we at? Oh, that was Tito. Hopefully that was a really overly long answer. Sorry about that. Jay Marosco writes, hey, John, I know they claimed it wasn't, but I still think the second part of the message from Superman's parents is altered. Lex just got lucky. Hey, listen, again, I've been saying that for days. I'm fine if it's not altered. I'm fine. But I still believe that at some point in the DCU, we're going to find out that some alien force, be it Kryptonian, Brainiac, Zod, something beyond Earth affected or doctored or manipulated that message. Again, if it's not, I'm totally cool with that too, but I do think that's what they're going to do, Jay. So I completely agree with you on that. All right. Karen Taylor writes, hey, John, what I loved was that I felt connected to this Superman emotionally. His kindness, his humility, and his humanity. He just wants to save lives, humans and animals alike. I was inspired to be better. See, that's the thing I said I think I might have said it in my out of theater reaction, Karen, was what makes this Superman great is not his power. Because a force of nature can have power. What makes this Superman great is his character. It's his integrity. It's his empathy. It's his kindness. I watch a lot of superhero movies, man. Superhero movies I love. Some superheroes I even like more than the Superman movie, where I find the characters awesome. Rarely do I find a character in one of these movies that I feel like I want to aspire to be like. And I'm not talking about laser vision, and I'm not talking about lifting kaiju. I'm talking about the type of man that Clark is. And to me, that empathy, that kindness, that character, that goodness of this Superman character is what draws me to this movie more than anything else. Yeah, he can fly and he's super fast, he's super strong. Absolutely, and I love that in my movies. But those are the things that make this movie, to me, special. Those are the things that make this character, to me, special. And why I went to go see it for a fourth time tonight. All right. Next up, Reggie writes, I believe if Clark had taken Jor-El's speech as Bible, the movie would have went the way of Brightburn. Just my opinion. Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, and by the way, James Gunn did not direct Brightburn, but he was a producer on it. That's exactly what Brightburn was. Brightburn was a, what if the kid that got sent to Earth wasn't sent with such nice instructions? Because that's exactly what it is, right? Like, Clark finding this out is like the kid in Brightburn finding out, but except that the kid in Brightburn found out at a very early age before his own moral character got established. And he breaks bad. And yeah, I think that it is very astute to compare that to Brightburn, 100%. All right. Next up, Rachel Knight Online says, still hate the Alex Ross style S. I get it. Here it is right behind me. I still like it very much, but that's okay. I don't like the red underwear. So we can both have something about the costume we don't like. I hate the red underwear, but other people seem to like it. So, Rachel, it is what it is. All right. Next up, we got Philly G, who writes, love that Superman saved something as small as a squirrel and wanted to try not to have the kaiju killed. That's, again, the empathy of Superman. That's his empathy. An empathy that is highlighted no better than in the scene when Lois says, it's just a dog. And he says, yeah, not even a very good one. But he's alone and he's probably scared. That's his heart, man. That's his heart. He sees anyone, anything that could get hurt, and he feels this intrinsic need to save them or it. And some people, listen, you know what? Some heartless going, oh, it was Superman saving a squirrel. Yeah, okay, that's a problem. Yeah, oh, wow, what a problem. That Superman would see a little creature about to get killed and want to have it not get killed. Terrible, terrible decision by the filmmakers. I don't know if you can sense my sarcasm screaming off the radar there. But yeah, I thought that was great because it spoke to his character. It spoke to his heart. It spoke to his empathy. I thought it was great. Anyway. All right. Next up, where'd we go? Jared E. Oh, and Jared E., this was from today on the John Campea Show. Just send a super chat badge to be supportive. All right. That's it. What are we at here? We're at 1 hour and 5 minutes. So 5.5 hours in total of Superman, open spoiler discussion, and we got all the questions answered. Again, only took 5.5 hours to get through all of them, but we got through them, guys. All right. Listen, since we are live and we're still here and we got the cameras on, why don't we take a minute and I'll take some of your questions in the live chat. I'm not going to spend long in the live chat. It is now almost 12:30 in the morning. I got to do a show in the morning, so I'm not going to take a lot of questions, but let's take some questions here and see if any of you guys have anything to say. I will just keep my eyes open on the live chat. And thank you, Comic Jack, saying that this was a fun stream. It was fun for me to do. I'm glad I decided to do this live instead of just recording it, actually. Calvin says, no toilet breaks. Well, we've only gone an hour and 10 minutes, and I did use the bathroom before we started. So I'm good. I planned ahead. Let's see here. Oh, Ammo writes, did I get my Odyssey tickets? Dude, I came out of the theater and Rob had texted me, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this well. This is the theater for Odyssey. It's already sold out. I count it when there's only the first couple of rows left or any single seats. I count that as sold out. Look at that. For a movie that comes out in a year, it's already sold out. So nope. Tickets went on sale when I was in watching Superman. So I think I lost my opportunity to get my tickets for Odyssey. So I'll just have to, but then look, that's just for IMAX screens. When the regular tickets go on sale for AMC Dolby Prime in a year, then I'll get my tickets for it. All right, let's see here. Oh gosh, things are skipping kind of fast. All right, here we go. Rick writes, do you think we will see Mr. Terrific and Peacemaker season 2? I do not. I would love it if we did, but I don't think we will. Let's see. Next up, we have G. Chris writes, Superman's clone has the powers that he has, but he doesn't have the same free will as Superman. That's because that's the way genetically that Lex made him. Lex made him be that way. And, you know, he also monologues about that in the movie. He says, like, as with any cloning, it's not a perfect match, but I was able to make him so he's much easier to control and he's stronger than you. So why was he that way? Because that's the way Lex genetically made him do it. Let's see. Night Guardian writes, amazing work tonight, John. Oh, thank you, Night Guardian. Was here for most of it and I loved it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Joe Hernandez writes, will you watch Superman in 4DX? No, it doesn't. There has to be a very specific kind of movie that I think I would want to watch in 4DX. Twisters, F1. I think it would just irritate me trying to watch a movie like Superman in 4DX. So I really like 4DX, but it's got to be for the right movie. So I don't think I will watch it in that. Christian writes, does Red Ghost show up maybe in a future movie? No, I highly doubt it. I think that was it for him. Let's see. Question. What do you think of the criticism that Lois didn't have a lot to do in the second half? What it's a Superman movie. What did you want Lois to do? That's stupid. I mean, what more could you ask for her to do? She literally goes, like in the second half of the film, and this is the second half of the film, she literally goes to the Justice Society or League or gang, gets them to go to where they took Superman, and then helps in the rescue of Superman, takes Superman back to the Kents, and then deciphers Jimmy Olsen's sexy selfies and was able to break the story and bring down, and ultimately at the end, bring down Lex Luthor. I mean, if somebody doesn't like the movie, that's totally fine. But what the holy hell would anybody be talking about if they said Lois didn't have anything to do in the second half of the movie? Number one, it's called Superman. Number two, she did a hell of a lot in the second half of the movie. What do we expect? What was any of them expecting? Like, seriously, what were they expecting? Anyway, so I think that is a ridiculous criticism. That one's ridiculous. Let's see. Question. What DCU team-up movie do you want to see Gunn direct? I don't. Honestly, I don't think James Gunn should be directing any more movies. Until maybe Justice League, I'm perfectly fine with him doing Superman because it's kicking off the DCU. But he's got to focus on the job of being the CEO of the company, him and Peter Safran. He's got to focus his time and energy now on shepherding the whole DCU. Because listen, directing and writing a movie is not a part-time job. That is 100% all engrossing, all encompassing. And I was all for it, for him to do it with Superman, but he's got to focus on now developing this universe and working with other filmmakers and shepherding this universe. I don't want to see him doing any others until Justice League. That's it. I don't want to see him doing any others. I want to see him focusing on doing his main job, which is shepherding, running, and creating this entire cinematic universe, and not just be bogged down with single film projects at a time, because that will lead to problems later on, I believe. All right. David says, thoughts on World's Finest instead of Superman 2? No. And by the way, it's not an either or. It's not an either or, but I've already gone on record that I don't believe we're going to get anything that looks like World's Finest until after Justice League. And I've explained why 1,000 times already, but I really don't think we're going to get World's Finest until after Justice League. And then it's a situation of it's not either or. I mean, it can be both and. So yeah. Let's see. Junebug writes, do you think we'll ever get a proper solo Superman film? This was a solo Superman film. What are you talking about? Like, are you talking about a Superman movie where he's sitting by himself in a cafe with nobody else in the cafe, and he's just sitting by himself thinking his thoughts while eating a bowl of soup? This was a true solo Superman movie. Are there other characters in the movie? Yeah, but every movie has other characters. This was Superman's movie. 100% this was Superman's movie. It's kind of like saying, like, Black Panther, was Black Panther not a solo Black Panther movie because Okoye was in it? Or because Nakia was in it? Or because Shuri was in it? Like, does other characters being there negate that it was a solo Black Panther movie? No, of course not. In the same sense that in no way does it negate that this was truly a solo Superman movie. Yeah, there were some side characters that had a few minutes of screen time, but this was a solo Superman movie. Because again, if you're saying it's not, then neither was Iron Man. Iron Man wasn't a solo Iron Man movie because it had Pepper Potts with a lot of screen time, had Jeff Bridges with a lot of screen time. Happy Gilmore has Happy Gilmore, not Happy Gilmore. What's Happy's last name? What's Hap's last? Now I forget what John's last name is in the MCU. Anyway, Happy's in there. Yeah, so this was a solo Superman movie. This was 100% a solo Superman movie. Now, if this movie was Hawkgirl with him 40 minutes of the movie, well, then there's an argument to be made that it's not. But yeah, it was definitely Happy Hogan. Thank you guys. Happy Gilmore. That would be interesting if Happy Gilmore were to pop up in there. That would be very, very interesting. All right, guys, it is now 12:30 in the morning for me. I got to go to bed because I have to get up at like 6 in the morning. Well, actually, I got to get up at 5:30. So I got to get up in like 5 hours and start getting ready for the show. So I'm going to have to cut it off here now. Thank you so much. We just had Alonzo Oka just send in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, Alonzo. Appreciate that very much, man. Very kind of you. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for our entire Superman open spoiler discussion. 5+ hours of it. So thank you guys so much for being here and making this little video part of your night. I'm so glad we decided to do this. It's 12:30 in the morning. There's like over 800 of you guys in the live chat right now. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the morning for the John Campea Show. Looking forward to seeing you there. We already got a bunch of stuff lined up for you guys to talk about. I'm excited about it. By the way, one of the things we're going to talk about tomorrow, just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, a couple of weeks ago, we did a topic called Superman, 5 reasons it's going to be awesome and 5 reasons why it might not be. And when we did that video, that day, a bunch of people wrote in and asked, do the same thing for Fantastic Four. So one of the things we're going to be doing tomorrow is Fantastic Four, 5 reasons it's going to be awesome and 5 reasons why it might not be. So hopefully you guys will come along and join us for that as well if you're awake. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.